A very warm welcome to the 11th episode of the podcast of the World Wind Energy Association, The World of Wind Power. My name is Stefan Gsänger, and I have the pleasure today to speak about one very important market, wind power market in Europe, but also worldwide, one of the leading markets, and this is Spain. And the guest I'm speaking about Spain with is Mercedes Casado, who is in charge of the development, onshore wind development, and also PV for RWE in Spain. A warm welcome to you, Mercedes.
Thank you very much, Stefan. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Yes, actually, we've been introduced. You're kind of representing also the Spanish Renewable Energy Association, APPA, of which you are a member, which is a member of our association. And now we're very pleased that in this way, we have the opportunity to present Spain, of course, to our members and to the audience who are interested in this development. Now, maybe you can, before we start talking about the Spanish wind market, introduce yourself briefly. How did you come to wind power, start with working with wind energy?
Yeah, thank you, Stefan, again. So my relationship with renewables started in 2016 when I moved from, I moved from Iberdrola, where I was working, from one department, which was in the energy management department, to renewables. And there I started being much more in touch with wind energy. All my experience was focusing regulation, so starting to monitor and study the different regulation of the renewables in different countries, ending up in the Spanish regulation, Spanish market. And after 2016, I stayed in Iberdrola Renewables until 2021, and then I moved to RWE, where I'm working right now. There, I started being responsible for the regulatory monitoring of all things that were affecting our different activities in Spain. And also then I started to be in part of different renewables associations. One of them is APPA, the APPA Renewables Association, where our country manager is the president of the wind section, and I am part of the board of the PV section.
Okay, so it's not only about wind, you also are working on PV, and your main focus is on, let's say, like the policy side. So that is something that, of course, makes you a natural person to work with people like us with the associations. Now, APPA is, maybe to briefly explain that as well, APPA is the Spanish Association for the Producers of Renewable Energy, right?
Yes, that's it. APPA is an association that covers all renewable activities: wind, PV, biomass, hydro, all different activities related with renewable energy. There are other associations which are much more focused in just one technology, PV or just wind, but APPA covers many other, all renewable technologies.
Which is also good. We're also working closely with these other organizations because it's important, I think, to also keep the whole picture in mind. But now we want to speak mainly about wind energy, which is also important because we need the experts on that field as well. Now, let's look a little bit back on how Spain has become, and Spain is still one of the top 5 markets around the world, how Spain has come into this position. Now, I think each of us, when we think about wind power in Spain, we have in mind those traditional windmills, maybe Don Quixote. And so that is for Spain, obviously, already in the past was one of the pioneers in bringing windmills to Europe. But now talking about modern wind power, Spain was also one of the early movers. When did the kind of wind electricity generation start in Spain?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Yes, wind power started in Spain in the 2000, maybe 6, 7, 8, already. So it started to be incentivized with a very good and very attractive economic regime, which made that well, not a lot of investors as we are seeing right now, but the interest of to invest in this technology increased, and we very quickly reach an amount of installed power around 20 gigas, which is quite a lot. Until which horizon? This is important. Until 2013. So we had a very nice period of subsidies being very attractive, which ended up in 2013. There we really had a problem because we had a deficit in the electric system. The cost didn't support what the consumers paid didn't support what the generation cost. And therefore some reforms needed to be carried out. So a revision or a restructuring of the support regime was done, which ended up in that the renewables development was stopped, mainly. Maybe not completely stopped, but yes, was paralyzed. No, the economic incentive was much more complex, very different, and also a lot of claims were done from different investors that saw their investment conditions change substantially. But anyway, that was something that was needed because otherwise the economic sustainability of the electricity system was really at risk. So after that, it was already end of 2016, 2017, when again the interest in the Spanish renewables market, and in this time, I think it was more because of the decrease in the cost of the PV, that interest in investing in PV increased quite quickly. So as you know, all the investors are looking to the different markets and are looking at the different technologies. And when they see the opportunity to go ahead, they are doing it. And at that point in time, what I was saying, so the cost of PV really decreased quite a lot. The Spanish started, or is, a very attractive market for PV production. And many developers started getting grid connections. At that point in time, wind was probably not the winner in the wind, if we can say it like this, in the wind and PV battle. It was more, at that point in time, PV was suddenly more attractive, and a lot of PV investors and a lot of projects of PV projects started to be developed. Anyway, wind was also there. We have already some figures. So in 2018, Spain had around 23 gigas of installed power of wind. And in 2023, so that is 5 years after, the installed power had grown 7.4 gigas, so we reached almost 31 gigas. But so the wind market grew 7 gigas, the PV market grew 20 gigas. That's what I was saying. So Spain started very early with wind, had a substantial growth. Then 2016-17 started again the interest in investing in renewables, but mainly PV, not so much wind. And now I think we are facing a situation where wind is becoming again, much more interesting for investor than PV.
Well, that's interesting. Maybe we go briefly back to this initial phase you were talking about. You spoke about now wind farm investment, but at that time there was also technological development in Spain, where some Spanish companies played an important role. Today, they're not kind of as independent companies, but Ecotecnia was one of the manufacturers. Then there was Gamesa, which is now part of Siemens. There was Made, and maybe some smaller ones. They developed their technology together with the development and the growth of this investment at that time. How important was this from the Spanish perspective to create a new industry?
Yes, that's right. I mean, I think that was and still is, but little by little, I think the value chain is decreasing, but we still keep wind value chain in the country. And of course, as you were saying, that was very important for the development of the industry, to create jobs, also to bring value to the country. So both, yes, as you are completely right. I mean, the industrial part developed to create or to develop to be able to install wind farms which produce electricity, and also electricity companies invested in that technology. Right now, I think we have that challenge, probably at European level, but also at the Spanish level, of industrial value chain, European industrial value chain, Spanish. We are not anymore talking about maybe Spanish, more European, in all tenders, in all subsidies that are awarded. Requirement is to have an European value chain, and I think that's one of the big challenges that we are facing right now, to keep a European value chain as well as being competitive.
But it's interesting you say that's been an important driver, and probably one driver is also that Spain is a country that doesn't have much fossil resources. But it's blessed with wind and sun anyway, for sure as well. You've just mentioned that PV has seen very strong growth. I heard this from other countries as well, that now it comes to the point sometimes the grid is congested because there's too much PV, and that maybe is the point of time where wind really must come back. But how is the landscape at the moment? How is the share of wind power and of renewables at the moment?
Right now, I think we are reaching the same amount of wind than PV, so around 31 gigas wind, and maybe utility scale 28 PV. But if you add self-consumption, then you reach a figure above wind already. I think self-consumption, we already have like 7 point something gigas. So 28 plus 7, you are already reaching 35 gigas of PV.
So these are household,
yes.
Solar rooftops.
Yes. And then we have CHP, hydro, also. So non-CO2 emissions, if we also include nuclear, we may be reaching a high percentage, maybe above 50% of the electricity being produced by non-CO2 emitters.
Now, the goal is phase out fossil fuels completely. When would that be? Is there a target here?
Yeah, so I think the last draft of the National Energy and Climate Plan targeted 81% of renewables in the electricity sector. And if I don't recall wrongly, 43% of renewables in the final energy consumption.
But that is, of course, an even more ambitious, if you want, no?
It's very, very ambitious. I think to be neutral target is 2050.
Mhm.
Anyway, already those targets, I agree, are very, very ambitious. We are waiting for the last version of the National Energy and Climate Plan. It should have been sent end of June, I think. So we are already with a little bit of delay. Let's see if they adjust some percentages or not. But yes, of course, Spain has very strongly supported renewables in order to decarbonize the economy and everything, and to fight against the climate change. So every country has decided their own strategy. Spain has, as you were saying, one of the main drivers, because we do have sun and we do have wind, has made a big bet, let's say, with renewables.
Now, you have already talked about the European dimension, and you mentioned that there are ambitious goals in Spain for renewable energy in particular. And one politician who has been one of the persons responsible for this, I think this is what people outside of Spain are also interested in, is your up to now Minister for Environment, I understand, Teresa Ribera, who has just been announced to become Commissioner for Climate in Brussels for the European Commission, and the first Deputy President of the European Commission, so formally become number 2 in the European Union. Now, I believe we should take this opportunity that you can speak a little bit about what your expectations are. Have you been surprised when you heard this news that your minister will have such an important role?
Yeah, news concerning Teresa Ribera going to Europe, or the rumors were already there, I think, some months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we all in the sector know and share that she has done a good job, I think, in Spain and also at European level. When the Spain hold the presidency of the European Council, we had the discussion about the electricity market design, and also in the different COPs, this COP28, COP27, she, I mean, has done a good job negotiating, reaching commitments between all countries. So I wasn't surprised, because, as I was saying, that was something that I was already hearing since some months ago. And I hope she can continue developing her career at European level. And she's been involved in the climate change and energy transition quite a long time. So she can, I think, do a good job there.
Yeah, that I think makes us confident, and probably she knows at least what she talks about, because sometimes politicians, they get a portfolio they're not at all familiar with, but this is obviously not the case. So let's hope for the best, and I think it's good to know that we as the renewables community then have someone on the European level we can talk to, obviously, at least. Now, going back to Spain, and maybe not just looking at the national level in Spain. Of course, Spain is a very diverse country as well, also language-wise. There's some regions where wind power is, I think, has a higher share than others. How is the regional distribution in Spain?
Concerning wind, I mean, wind, you know that in Spain, as I usually say, the sun shines everywhere, more or less at the same time, but the wind doesn't blow in the same areas the same. So you are right, different regions are more or less attractive for wind. The north west, Galicia is one traditional very windy region. Right now, not many developments are being done there because of the local opposition, but it was one of the first regions that was developed. As well, Castilla y León, Castilla-La Mancha, Aragon. Aragon has faced right now a really huge increase in wind farms in the last 4 years. And in the south of Spain, Andalusia, but it's also an interesting region for wind, not all of the province, but some parts of it. Which parts are less interesting for wind? So I think Extremadura, even though I think we also need to recognize that the new wind turbines are able to extract energy from lower wind speeds. So locations where usually were not attractive for wind, right now may become attractive. So usually we were not used to see wind farms in Extremadura, and now some developments are starting to go there.
So it's expanding and also diversifying if you want.
Yes, but main regions, I may say, as I was saying, Galicia was one of the oldest or the beginners, but right now with some problems. And then Castilla y León, Aragon, for sure. And then Castilla-La Mancha, Andalusia are also. So many parts of Spain, but as I was saying, wind, you need to study it a little bit. It's not like the sun where more or less gets up at the same time and goes down around the same time all over Spain. Clouds, storms, of course. It's simpler, let's say.
Yeah, no, that's understandable. Now you already spoke about one problem, that if I may call it, and I also wanted to ask you what keeps wind power back. You spoke about opposition in Galicia, so there's some people obviously who don't like wind farms. Now we have a lot of discussion now in our association about good community engagement. I know from RWE, which is a German company, that at least in Germany now there is an effort to engage people locally, also offering shares and things like that. Do you see this firstly as a major problem for the Spanish sector? And what is the appropriate answer? Is it that kind of good engagement?
Yes, I think that's a very good and very important point. And for example, Teresa Rivera was one of the aspects that insisted or gave more and more importance as the years went by. I think like in every market, when things ramp up very quickly, you find many ways to develop the business, and sometimes things are not done at the best way. For example, there are something that is shared in the different discussion forums is certain developers that have not talked to the territory before going to public information, for example. And it's the mayor one day when he or she, they are looking at the official bulletin, they find out they are going to have a wind farm in their village. So those things have happened, yes, and they are not beneficial for the for the development of the technology, for the rest of developers. And in the different associations, we are always trying to share and discuss that things should be done properly. I think the majority of the cases it is done properly. We are engaged with the territory, we are engaged with the authorities, we go hand in hand with them. We don't want to do things our way, but with the different authorities, whatever, associations, population, and so on. Also, another thing that is happening is that if you grow very quickly, it's also normal that some opposition is starting to grow. So initially in Spain, we didn't have a big issue about this not in my backyard phenomena. But of course, due to this growth we are experiencing, also some opposition is increasing.
I believe it's also a matter of, and I noticed this in continental Europe, it wasn't an issue. There's an increasing network of those groups, which is also, of course, providing wrong information sometimes. So I think that's something really important. But now, aside from these social issues, and by the way, we've started working on some international guidelines, recommendations for how to engage with communities. Which will, of course, be more generic because they are for the global level. But aside from that, what would you say in Spain, from your business perspective, what are other barriers that kind of keep you back? Is there anything you would wish that, or the Spanish government is about to address?
Concerning this local involvement?
No, in general. I mean, we hear from other countries complaints that permitting takes too long, permitting even of transportation takes too long, that the grid is not strong enough.
Yes, okay. Yeah, so here in Spain, main topic for me would be electrification of the demand. So I think right now we are facing a big challenge because generation has grown so quickly or quick, but demand is not growing. So we have a decoupling problem. Generation grows very fast, but demand is not growing so fast. If we don't make the demand grow, it's going to be difficult to be able to integrate as much renewables as we want. Therefore, grid is also an issue. But when we talk about grid, it's also a very complex topic because it's difficult to, grid is paid by the end consumer. The optimal grid should be always put in place because it's a cost, of course, which is the optimal grid that will be able to integrate also the amount of renewables. I think it's not an easy question to answer because you also have a storage grid, which mix is the best one. So it's a challenge. And on the other side, on the generation side, permitting. Wow, that's a big challenge, I think. Because in Spain, at least, we have national permitting, so do it at the national level in the energy ministry, but above 50 megawatts. And below 50 megawatts, you go to regional permitting. We face different rules in different regions because each region has its own rules that may differ more or less from the national rules. And it's, as always, I think, very, very important to go very closely talking to the administration, understanding their requirements to be able to be successful. So permitting, of course, is an issue. We all hear about digitalization, standardization, but when you face the reality, I think that's a huge gap between those claims, digitalization, standard, and the reality. I don't know which one, how can we work towards a unique solution, but of course, permitting is a challenge. Environmental permitting is also a challenge. And in Spain, for example, repowering permitting is something that I think it's a non-regret option because in Spain the grid is an issue. You cannot get grid connections because it's very difficult to get them. So once you have one grid connection, it's value millions. I mean, it's gold. And if you have a very old wind farm that you can replace, you can occupy less land and produce 20-30% more energy it's like no go. It's a wonderful option. Therefore, should be incentivized. But the reality is that when you go to the different regions, the different town halls, they need to familiarize with this, and they think about the repowering about as if it was a new wind farm, or even more difficult than a new wind farm sometimes,
okay.
just because you are already there. And so it's not clear how you should approach the permitting. And anyway, also that's a challenge. So from the generation side, I think permitting, of course, grid connection in Spain, it's also a challenge. But electrification of demand overall is the main big challenge, because otherwise, yeah, we will be facing a problem in the near future, I think.
So you probably refer also, for example, to electric cars, no? So which would take more electricity instead of the fossil fuel that we take so far. Now, you talked a lot about integration, I'd say, under that kind of headline. Say there's a lot what is necessary, and obviously the closer we come to a full renewable energy supply, the more important this is that we have an intelligent way of balancing between supply and demand. So if I understand that this is a point where Spain is now, and you say there's even the risk of having oversupply sometimes of PV, where wind can balance that. If we try to come to kind of a optimistic, more outlook at the end of the podcast, I've understood now there are these challenges. Do you believe, or when do you believe can Spain manage this? Find not only technology, you underline that, but also the regulatory answers, which I think at the moment no country really has. So that, well, I mean, you said latest by 2050, there must be this carbon neutral or almost 100% renewable energy supply. Is that realistic? Do you think it can be done earlier?
But a difficult question. For sure, I think we are working very hard and investing also very hard. I mean, renewables are there and will continue to be there. As you are saying, the renewables integration, the stability and the security of the supply is also very important. Therefore, yeah, storage, this, how you say, normally these asynchronous technologies, they are not grid forming, they are grid accepting. So these grid forming technologies that they go ahead are also very important. I think it's a very challenging moment where we can go ahead and let's see if we can really have this very advanced electricity system where you can use your battery, the battery of your car, to participate in a local market, for example, and also have a lot of more services to match supply and demand at any moment. I don't know. I don't know if we will be able to be carbon neutral 2050. It's true that right now with this new area of the European Commission, it seems that the focus is more in the industrialization, competitiveness. We have China, United States that are, let's say, growing very fast, and maybe Europe is not growing so fast. May this make our renewables interest decrease a little bit? Could be. I can't answer that. So.
I mean, one thing I can assure you, because we are also regularly talking with our Chinese colleagues in terms of integration, while when we started working with China more than 20 years ago, China was also always looking what's happening in Europe in terms of digitalization and electrification in general. I'd say now China is many years ahead of Europe. So giving up on the renewable side would create another advantage for China. I would rather see it like that.
Yeah. Great.
But I think Spain has shown in the past what can be done. Spain is one of the really most important countries in wind power development in particular, not only investment, but also on the side of the technology development. And I understand still on a good way. Maybe as a final question, where do you see Spain now as World Wind Energy Association? We also have an eye on Africa, Morocco, for example. We know that some of our members, they would like to export even to Europe. Spain itself has the potential, of course, provide much, much more. Could also supply, I think is already doing it at the moment to Morocco, but could do to Central Europe. What will be the long-term role that Spain could have? How would you see that? As kind of just self-sufficient to kind of be the transfer place or import? What's the role that you would see?
Yeah, so I think Spain has a very an opportunity to have very, very competitive electricity. That in the best case, the best scenario, I think, would be that the industry could be placed here. So it's an opportunity to industrialize the country. And yeah, due to this, it's also true that you don't only need electricity, very, very competitive electricity in order for an industry to be located in one place or another. But it's an important factor that we could take advantage of in order to, yes, to increase our industrial activity. And let's see if we can really take advantage of this opportunity and really be so attractive and be able to grow this industrial component to have some growth there, which could be very, very good for the country.
I think one thing is clear, there are fantastic prospects. We need to use them, and the next years will decide about that. Thank you so much, dear Mercedes Casado, for sharing your insights about the Spanish, not only wind power, but also renewable energy market. I wish you personally all the best success for your future endeavors in Spain, also in our interest, of course. With this, thank you also to our audience, and goodbye.
Thank you very much, Stefan. Bye-bye.